today's episode, we will be focusing on using management interfaces on Windows 10. Basically, you'll learn how to access the principal management interfaces in Windows 10, and by following along, if you have Windows 10 installed on your device or you have the virtual machine, you can Google or YouTube some videos on how to install a virtual machine and how to install Windows 10 onto that. And you can follow along these labs. So I'll be going through the basics. In today's lab, we'll just be going through a couple of scenarios. We'll be looking at some task manager stuff and some basics of PowerShell. So it's just going to be touching up lightly on those aspects. I mean, just navigation and stuff, because this is mostly geared towards people who are new in the industry and who are just beginning or transitioning into the IT industry. If you are pursuing your CompTIA ITF Plus, this would be a very, very good way to start your studies. I mean, it's good to have theoretical knowledge, but you need to practice as well. And these labs are going to give you that. So I'm learning myself, and you guys can follow along. You can follow those steps. And this is an actual vendor lab. I have access to some virtual machines online, and I'll be going through those steps with you guys, and you can follow along and learn along the way. If you have any comments, if you have any problems, you can just comment down below. If you don't have Windows 10, if you don't know how to install virtual machine or virtual box or VMware or stuff like that, just give me a shout out and just give me a comment, and I will definitely get back to you guys. So let's get back to our lab today. So our lab is using management interfaces. Obviously, you need to know navigation of Windows, and you need to know how to browse stuff and the basic commands. I mean, everyone knows about that these days, so it's not going to be a big issue for you guys. Some people might already know this stuff, but it's always a good idea to practice it with the official, or let's say proper guidance of trainers. So I'm not a trainer, but the labs I'm going to follow are from official trainers. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to promote them just like that. I mean, I don't know if they are good or not. So just follow along and see if you guys like it. If you like it, just I'll be uploading more labs like these, and as the labs increase, the intensity and the what do you call, the complexity of of those labs would increase. And with complexity, obviously the practicality and the real life usage will also increase. Like, there is stuff that you need to know about, but you won't be practicing it in your IT career. So uh, as the labs as you follow along the labs, you're going to see that the practicality is going to increase as well. Fine, so let's just come to the lab. So I have logged into my virtual machine already. So I'll just input my password. So if you have your virtual machine set, you would have some kind of default password, or maybe you have Windows 10 already, so it's not an issue. Okay, that's incorrect. Let's see, I hope it works now. Okay, cool. I don't know why this opened. Okay, so close this. So normally you have a different screen here. I mean, I have some stuff installed here already, which is obviously going to be different for you guys. This is a box or virtual machine which I'm accessing online. All right. So what do we do now? So first, let's just start and show you the power users, the tools used by power users. So if you press the Windows and X together, you're going to open the quick access menu. All right. Or you could also just right click the Windows icon, and it's going to open up for you the quick access menu, and this contains shortcuts to most of the tools required by power users. like apps and features, event viewer, system, network connections, disk management, computer management, Windows PowerShell. This is like really famous, and everyone who wants to become a system administrator should know most of these commands or options or tools basically. So from the quick access menu, we are going to select system. This setting basically, this is a settings page, and it provides information about the PC status, device specifications, and the version of Windows currently installed, and stuff like that. This is obviously not my laptop or PC. This is actually a virtual machine hosted in the cloud or something. So it's showing me the specifications for that device. So take some time to, browse other pages in the settings app, like all this stuff. So normally these are the settings which are being used on a daily basis. Like if you have problems in your display, your sound, you need to change your sound settings, your power and sleep options, what are you going to do if it's plugged in, if it's, if you're going to turn it off after 10 minutes or something like that, and stuff like that. So take a look around, just click all those options and understand what each window contains, right? So now you can just close this and right click the taskbar and select the task manager. So when you click this, you see this. There's nothing open right now because I have not opened any kind of application. So I'm going to click more details at the bottom of the window, and it's going to show me tabs like processes, performance, app history, startup, users, details, services, and stuff like that. There's another way to do it. If you press Control, Shift, and Escape, you can quickly get to the task manager. All right. So in the processes tab, which is the default, you can see that this application is open, but there are so many other processes which are running, but you can't see them. These are background processes. They are run by the system. They are run by the operating system. So you know that the operating system has many tasks which are hidden from the user, right? But let's say your task manager, if you right click any process or application, you can see the settings. So these are basically settings of these applications. Or you can also, so you just right click this and you can see end task. All right, if you click this, you can kill this task without risk of data loss. But note that if you end a task that is processing unsafe data, that information will be lost. Let's just give you an example. If you, let's say, start Paint, let's just search Paint. If I press this, there's an option to type. I'm going to type Paint. So I'm going to show you that if you end task without saving, it's not going to give you any kind of prompt. So let's just say we write something. Right, you write something here, and I'm not going to save this file. Okay, I'm not going to press save or anything. Now in the task manager, you can see that, so this is kind of slow because it's actually hosted on the internet, on the cloud. So there's obviously some delay while accessing the lab, but never mind. So you can see the Paint application is running, right? Now if I select, right click this and say end task, you see it just disappears. It didn't ask me to save that file which I was working on. So it's really good for ending processes or killing processes basically. All right, but it would close that application without prompting you to save anything. All right, so you need to take care of that. But if you want to like kill a process, you don't care if you want to save that and your computer is like hanged up and stuff, you can just kill that task through right clicking. Now, keep on looking at the task manager and note that the division of processes in apps and background processes, the background processes run without a window. So you don't see that window, right? Uh, though some may be configurable via notifications area. Some of them are being run in the notifications area, or they can be configured. All right. Now let's just go to um, these columns. There's CPU, memory, disk, and network headings. And let's just sort these in turn and see how much of the computer's resources each is consuming. So for example, if I click CPU, you can see which processes or which applications are using the most CPU. So you can see 50%, which is not that bad actually. So you can see that these are background processes which are using the CPU. So let's just check and sort it out by memory. So the anti-malware is using a lot of memory, 152.9 MBs. Let's see which application is using a lot of disk, which application is writing and reading from the disk, the hard disk basically. So these are again some background processes, and there's anti-malware and stuff like that. Let's see what about the network, which application or process is using a lot of network. You can see delivery optimization. So this is actually downloading some Windows update or something, 20 megabits per second. So this is a lot, right? So based on this, you can see which task or which process is utilizing or overusing your resources, and you can kill that task. All right. Now let's just close this task manager. Now we'll right click the start button and select computer management. So this is another important tool. It's the default management console, and management consoles can be configured with snap-ins. These are snap-ins to control most of the power configuration options in Windows. These are all snap-ins, right? And I think you can modify these as well. But for that, we have another console we should talk about later. So now select each of the following. Let's start with task scheduler. So if you click this, you get this, you expand this basically. There's a summary of what is the task scheduler and what task it has been running, what are being scheduled, what are the triggers, what makes them run. Maybe you have just set some alarms and stuff like that. So basically, when you expand the node and view the items in the task schedule library, you can see that Windows runs many processes automatically. Some are multiple triggers, some are set at some particular time and stuff like that. Let's go to disk management. This shows you the summary of the disks basically attached to the computer, right? And the drives or partitions and file systems which it belongs to them and which they are configured. So for example, disk 0 is going to be your hard disk drive which is installed, and it has some recovery options. So let me just pull this over. So this is a recovery partition. There's a EFI system partition. This is the actual boot drive primary partition, where actually you like put your files and stuff and install softwares, etc. There's a CD-ROM, but there's no media. So this shows you a summary of the disks attached to the computer and the drives, right? Let's go to services and applications. So basically, this is a shortcut menu for each service, and it allows you to stop and start it or configure its properties. We'll come back to this later maybe. So you just know that these are power tools. These are important to understand and customize these, as required. Let's just close this computer management. Let's just go to start, and we can go to, or let's just type control panel. So this is the traditional way of going to settings. We used to have control panel before, And nowadays we have settings, but still we have this control panel, but it doesn't have everything being used nowadays, because Microsoft has removed control panel and the legacy command prompt from the quick access menu. In recent updates, you have to directly edit the registry to create the shortcut, so you can't have a shortcut here anymore, right? So because they want you to go to the settings, basically this is the settings. They don't want you to use the control panel anymore. And with the latest feature update, there are relatively few configuration options left in. And with the latest feature update, there are relatively few configuration options left in the control panel. All right, so you can just browse some of these applets. These are all applets, and you can just see some major ones like encryption, administrative tools, some mouse options, network and sharing center, programs and features, device manager. These are all important, like Defender, firewall, user accounts. This is where you will be playing as a help desk. So you need to know, as an IT administrator or IT support specialist, you need to be familiar with each of these applets and how to configure them, internet options as well. All right, so let's just close this. Now let's just look at Windows PowerShell. So you know that command line tools are very important for system administrators. So home or end users will work in the GUI or the graphical user interface, but administrators spend a great deal of time at the command line. So let's just right click again here to the start menu, and let's just find PowerShell. So I'll click this PowerShell. So the Windows PowerShell is an example of a command line interface, or CLI. So basically PowerShell commands use a verb noun syntax, and you'll notice this as we enter the commands. I'll just give you one example or two, or a couple examples, and you can see how we can use this PowerShell. And these commands are basically known as CMDLETS, commandlets, maybe a shortcut, CMDlets. I'll just write it down for you. CMDlets. This is not a command. This is just what these commands are called in PowerShell terminology. All right, I'll just delete this. Okay, so let's just type in a command called get net IP configuration. All right, let's just see get dash net IP configuration. Spelling seems all right. This PowerShell commandlet or CMDlet displays configuration information for the Windows network adapters. If I press enter, what's going on? All right, so I typed it twice. So I'll just go back. So we're going to see some configuration information for the computer's network. Since the connection is online, it's going to be a bit slow, but it's going to show. Yeah. So we know that this is a Microsoft Hyper-V network. It's connected through Ethernet. This is the IP address of the machine. And this is the default gateway, private address. DNS is also the same. So if you notice, I typed this as, we have some capital letters here. You don't have to do that in Windows. You do not actually have to match the case of the command when using PowerShell. The command environment is typically case insensitive. So using case makes the command easier to read and typing mistakes less common. That's the only benefit. In Linux, however, the command environment is case sensitive. All right. So let's just type another commandlet. Let's see what does this do. This is a famous one. ipconfig. Let's see what this gives us. Okay. So this gives us the IP configuration, something similar. It shows some local domain as a DNS. You'll get to learn all of this, and if you're in ITF right now, don't worry about this, and if you're already Network Plus, you probably know all this stuff. So subnet mask, IPv4 address, default mask, default gateway, subnet mask, and stuff like that. So the IP config, this is an older native Windows command prompt that displays similar information. The PowerShell interface can run both Windows command prompts and PowerShell commandlets. So this is actually a cmd.exe command. The old one, which we used to have in the beginning, the black screen one. That's the one. So, but PowerShell has its own commands, and it can also run the commands from the CMD or the Windows command prompt. So let's just try that actually. So let's just find CMD, and this is the command prompt. And let's just type in ipconfig. And you see this is the same as what we get here, right? This executes the same way as in the PowerShell CLI. Now let's type in what we typed in before. Get for PowerShell, get net IP configuration, if I typed it correct. So what does it say? It says getnet IP configuration is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program, or batch file. So it doesn't recognize it. It produces an error message. The command prompt environment cannot understand or parse, understand and parse, similar terminology, but this is in Windows or the IT system terminology, parse. It does not understand the PowerShell commandlets. So this is a command. So this IP configuration is a command, but this is a commandlet. This is for PowerShell only, right? So when using a CLI or command line interface, you need to understand which commands it can run, as they are not all the same. So this is the takeaway point here. This is not a detail lab. Obviously, it's not going to teach you everything. This is just enough for you to get a feel of what IT is and gets you to prepare for ITF. Plus, I want to refresh my memory from the start, like from ITF, and then I'm going to go over to A+, and then Network Plus and Security Plus. So we'll go in order, but obviously we're not going to learn a lot conceptually in these labs. It's all about going to be practical, whatever you've learned in the book. So I recommend you get a book and understand the concepts and theory behind all this, and then just practice with me. Practice on your computer, practice on a virtual machine. If you guys don't know how to install a Windows or any operating system on a virtual machine, just let me know. You can also search it on YouTube. It's available everywhere. So, all right, thank you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, and see you until next time. Bye.